Disclaimer. We are two regular guys who love to talk Bone Thugs and Harmony. We do not represent Bone Thugs or any Bone affiliate. We are also not Bone Thugs experts. The views and information you hear in this podcast may be based on personal opinion. Please feel free to leave corrections and clarifying information in the comments. And enjoy. Johnny, outstanding. This interview represented everything that I want this podcast to be about.
Absolutely. And the craziest thing is knowing the reality of Beyond the Harmony is going to have an intro and potentially an outro from the guy that did the Art of War 3 album cover. That's just it's crazy to think about.
And it's what it's about. This podcast is about re-embracing that spirit that that we knew the Bone community had a decade ago or more, and just creating those oh shit moments. I remember logging on and seeing a Bone promo go up, or even just when a website that was doing Bone stuff but had nothing to do with Bone directly would drop something, and it was just like, oh shit. And that's part of the reason why we had this promo made by Aaron specifically, because we knew that it would be another oh shit moment for the Bone fans online.
Yeah, absolutely. And and to add on to seeing the artwork come out, even sometimes there'd be people that would just make homemade graphics, and it would just take your mind to a place where you're like, oh man, that would be really cool if they did that, like if it was fan art for an album cover. Or even sometimes they create like settings or scenes or like fantasy imagery of the Bones somewhere, and it would just take your mind to somewhere, and you'd kind of envision what battle they were having with the demons. And so it didn't just need to be official releases. Even the fan art in itself, when it was done right, done good, it was part of the whole enjoyment. You go on the forums, see people's graphics. Everybody would kind of have their own little graphics. Go to sites because you want to see what somebody made. So that's, to me, that's part of the pastime, is definitely the artwork.
Before we wrap up, we had two opening topics, and we kind of just ran off crazy on the first one, and then it ran right into our interview. You want to cover that other opening topic we had before the wrap up?
Yeah, absolutely. And I also want to add in too that so far on this show, because like you have the 4 elements of hip hop, we have the elements of Bone, right? And so last week we covered the collecting aspect, and this week we covered the art aspect. And so next, I'm pretty sure the next one we do will be with another part of the elements of Bone.
Yeah.
But
I don't know when this will air, but I do know that in terms of recording, today is February 26, 2008. The 27th, where we're going to be recording an interview with Capone, formerly of the Mo Thugs. He was featured on Mo Thugs 3, The Mothership. And we're going to be doing an interview with him. So we're covering it all for you guys, man. Every bit of it.
Yeah, and since we're in the week of, well, I guess last week was Wishbone's birthday, I believe on February 22nd. And I think Lazy Bone this last week released the double album, The Definition and the Meaning, like 7 years ago or something. And I saw that on the Loyal Bone Fan forum on Facebook. So I just wanted to throw in those little trivia pieces out there. Happy birthday to Wish, and the celebration of 7 years on Lazy Bone's double album, Definition and the Meaning.
That's so crazy to me, the way time flies. When we were just in the middle of the interview, I was looking up just shit while we were going over it, and I forget what I looked at. I think it was Unified, okay? And I was just looking up the dates, and Unified came out in 2010.
Yeah.
8 years ago.
8 years.
8 years ago. Do you know Flesh has been out of jail almost as long as he was in jail?
It's incredible. And he still can't get his passport? Is that the deal? Because I know that's like holding up the world tour or something. I don't know if it's his passport. Something's holding up there was like supposed to be a big world tour for Bone to do, because I think part of the criteria, and I don't know for sure, but I know they're trying to get into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and in order to qualify, I think you have to have a certain amount of world tours. And they were, I think from watching an interview with Bizzy and Flesh, they were getting ready to do it, go to Brazil and some other places, but then from what I heard, it was Flesh's passport, but I don't know for sure. Like, don't hold me to that, but I heard that in some interview, and hopefully he could get that. I'm sure he's got it by now, but the world tour and the criteria, I tried to find out what the criteria is specifically from Bizzy, but I think he thought I meant something else. And so if anybody knows what the criteria is to get into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, definitely drop that below, and maybe we could help Bone find a way to achieve all those criteria to get into that Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, because that is quite an honor.
You know, we saw Tupac in there. I think Run DMC is in there.
Like NWA.
You know, NWA. I can't think of a group that I feel, and obviously we're big Bone fans here, but just so you guys know, John and I are big fans outside of Bone of other people as well. I would tell you if I thought somebody deserved it more. Maybe someone like Biggie, and I don't want to get into a Biggie discussion, because even Biggie, the body of work doesn't compare to Bone. I can't think of anybody that deserves it. These, not only did they deserve it, these guys are alive and still doing it. Everybody that I just fucking named has passed, and no matter what somebody will tell you, it's instantly easier to consider them a legend once they've died.
Right. Yeah.
For Bone to be, you know, these guys are legends right now, living, breathing. Like, you know, let's get these fucking guys in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame while they're here to enjoy it.
Not only that, they have so much material that not a single Bone fan has been able to collect it all yet, and we've all been trying. So the prolificness is just off. I just found out today of another Thug Queen song on some album I had never heard of, The Con Artist, and it's like the more you dig, you keep finding more and more stuff. It never ends, and these guys exist every single day, and it seems like they're always in the studio recording with somebody, whether it's for Mo Thugs or Bone Thugs or for an affiliate or for just a special guest feature. It's like we're never going to get to the bottom of it all.
Yeah. I mean, listen, that body of work, these guys deserve it. I think, like, don't they have like a fucking diamond record, which is like, you know, fucking impossible to get? I think the Crossroads either tied, I think it tied for fastest rising single of all time. It tied with like the fucking Beatles. Yeah. With the Beatles.
Yep.
With the Beatles.
Yeah, there's not too many diamond albums out there. I think Tupac might have one because it's maybe not. I don't know. I'm pretty sure Eminem has one. I'm guessing MC Hammer, You Can't Touch This might be a diamond album. But for Bone to have one with Eternal, you know, the impact the Crossroads had, it seems everybody in the world knows Bone, their name, at least something about them. And
even if you don't know them, go to somebody and just mumble, sing Bizzy's part from the Crossroads around them and see if they respond. You know what I mean? If you walk up and you boom, 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 but they're going to do it back. Even if they don't know Bone like that. That you just know it. That's like embedded in everybody's DNA from that time frame.
Yeah, and a little factoid that goes along with Wishbone's birthday in February, and actually I had it wrong, it's February 21st. I saw somebody posted it as the 22nd, but something interesting, and while it's not June, there's a lot of Bone birthdays, or Ruthless Record birthdays more specifically, in June. So Flesh and Bone's birthday is June 10th, DJ Unique is June 15th, Ice Cube is also June 15th, MC Ren... Yeah, and MC Ren is June 16th. So imagine that. You have Cube on the 15th, Ren on the 16th, and Unique on the 15th. And then Tupac was also born June 16th. Now, Tupac was affiliated with Ruthless Records at one point. Bizzy Bone even mentioned that he used to see Tupac around. And there's the pictures of Tupac, Tretch, and Eazy-E. So the 15th and the 16th. There's two with birthdays on the 15th. Ren and Tupac on the 16th. And then Crazy Bone the next day on the 17th. So there's something about June birthdays that develops legends. Like all these guys
It's
are
like that
so yeah.
Gemini shit, right? They're all
Yeah.
they're all they're all Geminis.
And Bizzy's birthday is on my dad's birthday. They share the same birthday, September 12th. And Lazy's also in September, it's September 23rd. So those are some dates out there for you guys if you like celebrating the Bone birthdays. June is always a special month for
Parties must have been wild back then. In the heyday of Ruthless, when a motherfucker's birthday rolled around,
oh
it
yeah.
must have been. Oh, well, who knows? You know, I hear Bone talk about it a lot, and they say, hey, you know, life was pretty good during Creepin', and then we got put in this amazing mansion, and then Easy got sick, and we didn't know it, so we wrecked the place because we thought we were getting fucked over. So I don't know how good it was, because we know after Easy died, life wasn't great over on Ruthless.
I don't know. I seen Fat Joe tell a few stories about Bone, about stuff he's seen Bone pulling off back in the day. So, sounds like they had a lot of fun out there.
Yeah. I always think about that. I think I just saw the interview today, and the first time I actually heard this story, you told me about it, and it was about Bizzy was talking about how, you know, hey, when Easy was dying and we didn't know it, we were in this mansion, we just went crazy and we wrecked the place, and he's like gunshots and holes and you know, just crazy shit, and he's like, when the guy got back that was renting this fucking place, he was, I can't even remember the words that Bizzy used, but I just like, it just made it sound like the guy was crushed to come back and see his mansion wrecked by these 5 true thugs from the double Glock.
Yeah, and it's unfortunate. Like on one side, it's a funny rock star story, and then on the other side, it's kind of disappointing because that probably closed a lot of doors. With people with money are the ones that have the means to help propel your career and get you opportunities and marketing and all that. And so who knows what kind of doors that closed, but it's a pretty good rock star story.
Yeah, it definitely. I mean, it's crazy because he didn't say it, but you felt like Bizzy was remorseful while he was telling you about it.
Right. Yeah.
You know what I mean? I don't think those guys look at those times and go, that was cool, like they're older now. But yeah, you're right. I mean, that's the type of shit where you don't wreck a mansion and the guy's got to have some loot, right? He was able to rent you a mansion, meaning he had somewhere else to go besides his mansion. You don't wreck that without that getting around to some people. But it couldn't have fucked him up too bad because, life is pretty good for the Bones.
Yeah, and I just hope he was just the guy renting his mansion out, not a Bone fan. Because if he was a Bone fan, man, that would have hurt. But
yeah, that leaves a rough one for you. But yeah, so the what was the
Well, I think we should probably save it for the next one and just start off with some other topics. To start the beginning of the next one. Although, I mean, we could cover things now. I'll tell you this. I saw today on the Bone boards that, and there was a lot of comments, a lot of responses to it. Somebody asked, what was the first Bone album you ever purchased? And so not necessarily the one that you heard first, but what was the first Bone album you ever purchased? So what was your first Bone album?
If I remember this correctly, let me see here. In 97, I was like 14 and I had a babysitter or some shit. I think I had a babysitter. No, I must have been younger than that. It must have been 96 or some shit. No, it couldn't have been 97. That's right, because when was Eternal? 95?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm thinking 90 because I was like, there's no way. So 95, I have a babysitter that is pushing Bone, but I don't really. Hip hop was pretty new to me back then. She was pushing Bone. The first thing that she pushed on me was First of the Month. Okay, and I remember her showing me that video like once, and then she didn't come around for a while. And then the next time she came around, the Crossroads was a thing, and that was on MTV like every other fucking music video, right? So she was a fan, so she fucking pushed that hard, and that's how I became a fan. And then I think she brought me a copy of Creepin' on a Come Up. I think she had Eternal, but she only had one, and she was keeping it for herself because she was a Crossroads fan. And I think she brought me Creepin' on a Come Up. And then I think the first one that I purchased, like took my own money and purchased, was The Art of War.
Wow. Okay. Did you get it on tape or CD?
The first time when I got Art of War, I got it on a tape. And let me tell you a fucking funny story about getting it on tape. And this is another reason I love Bone, okay? I can't even remember, maybe I can find it. The tape of Art of War doesn't have all the tracks the CD had. I think it's just missing like one, okay? I think there's just one that isn't on there, but there's one of the songs.
Evil Paradise? Was it Evil Paradise?
I think that's on there. I'm
What
trying to
about
look right now.
Friends? Maybe it was Friends?
I'm looking at the cassettes. I know it was something on the second one. Let me just open up the cassettes real quick and I'll compare here. So I'm pretty sure it was on the second disc. And I remember getting the cassettes, and I got used to the songs on the cassette, okay? And I eventually upgrade to CDs. And I now replace all my Bone CDs, Biggie CDs, everything with CDs. And I'm listening to The Art of War, and you should have seen my face when the fucking song came on, because you get used to it. You know the next sound that's going to drop. You know everything that's about to happen when you know a CD or an album inside and out. You should have seen my motherfucking face, bro. My face when a song that I hadn't heard started. I was like, what the fuck is this?
Wow.
And that it was such a great moment. And, you know, like we always talk about, the internet wasn't like that in 97. You didn't have a bunch of people on the board like, hey, have you compared the CD and you know that this track's like this? Like, it just happened. And it was such a great surprise as a fan to have that happen. So maybe I think the first shit...
Was it Let the Law End? Like, I'm thinking in my mind what it could have been. And, like, if I hadn't heard Let the Law End, that would have blown. Like, I'm trying to, like, relive that glory of getting to you know, trying to imagine not knowing of one of the songs and then hearing it when I finally got the CD. Plus, you're getting to experience it in CD digital quality. So it sounds better already, and you get this extra song. But yeah, that happened to me a few times too. I think with Two Live Crew, because, you know, I had the clean versions as a kid, and then growing older, you get your hands on the dirty versions, and there's like twice as many songs. Actually, for most people, you may not know Two Live Crew, but they were a Miami, South Florida based group in the 80s and 90s. Luke, Trick Daddy, but they were later on. Brother Marquise and Fresh Kid Ice. You know that Fresh Kid Ice died either this year or last year. I can't believe it.
Yeah, I knew that.
I was connected to him on LinkedIn. Like I was like, hey, Fresh Kid Ice. But
I'm trying to see. I'm trying to find. I know. I just can't see which track it was. Let's see. This says Evil Paradise. Oh, you know what? There it is. Okay. Cool. The track that they didn't have on the cassette that they had on the CD was Friends. How many of us have them?
Yep.
So that song just didn't fucking exist to me for I don't even know how long, you guys. It came out in 97. I got it pretty much when it fucking came out. I got it. And, you know, who knows when I upgraded to the CD. So this just kind of sat. And then one day, boom, Friends starts. And I'd never heard it before.
There's some really good verses on that song. And, I mean, like, at the time, like I could have done without the chorus only because I'm a little older, so I was a Houdini fan, and Houdini had a song called Friends, and it was the same exact chorus. And I liked, you know, I was like, how could you have kind of a jacked hook on an album with a song called All Original, right? So like the chorus part and that kind of stuff, when Puff Daddy used to do it back then, it used to drive me nuts, only because the listeners didn't know the originals. Like, I think if everybody knew that a lot of things were remakes, I wouldn't have had such a big issue with it. But like I'll Be Missing You with Biggie, a lot of people didn't know where that originally came from. Nas, If I Rule the World, they didn't know that came from Curtis Blow, who was one of like the original founders of rap. And obviously Houdini, also one of the, not quite pioneers, but early on rap groups. So that part used to drive me nuts. But like once I would get past the friends, and hear the verses, I was like, oh yes, especially Crazy's verse, Bizzy's verse, and Flesh's verse. All three of those. I love how Flesh comes in off of the other verse, and it's a cool song. I just, the hook just, it made me cringe just from. I didn't know if Bone knew about Houdini or not, and they must have known, because how else would they have that? And then I think Tupac had a song called Friends as well. So yeah, it's okay to borrow. It's just, and I don't mind that Bone did it. It's just when the listeners didn't know, that's the part that used to kill me.
I think if I remember correctly, that Friends is it's sampled from like some really old like Motown shit or something like that.
Oh, so Houdini was biting too.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that is like, let's look here. Friends, no, this says Friends contains a sample of Friends as performed by Houdini. So Houdini was first.
Houdini, that's 6 Minutes of Funk. Also, that was a classic beat. Silk
But
Shocker.
you know, they sampled a lot though. You know, they sampled a lot on there on the Art of War.
Yeah.
So
it's all good. So I mean, you know.
That was mine. Like I said, I think the first song I heard was First of the Month. I think the big one that got me on board was The Babysitter Pushing the Crossroads. And then I kind of rewound a little bit because, like I said, she gave me a copy of Creeping on a Come Up, which was a different style. Like, I was waiting for like a Crossroads-esque song or even a First of the Month-esque song to drop. And it was fucking Thuggish Ruggish Bone. So I get the complete other side. And again, I don't think I had the whole Eternal disc yet. I didn't get that. You know, I think she eventually gave it to me because I remember getting Eternal before I went and bought Art of War because I had both of those tapes, Creeping on a Come Up and Eternal. And then I went and got that Art of War. So that's my Art of War story. Johnny, I think you were into Bone a little bit before me. What was the first purchase of the Bones?
As people know, well, they may not know, but I was an Eazy-E fan first, and I was waiting for, actually it was supposed to be called Temporarily Insane or Temporary Insanity. I kept waiting to get all the magazines trying to find that, and then eventually in a Rap Pages issue there was an advertisement, and this is before Straight Off the Streets of Compton. Maybe it was after, I can't remember if it was before or after Straight Off the Streets of Compton, but there was an ad for Eazy-E with this group, and I had heard he was forming a group outside of BG Knockout and Dresta, and it said Bone Thugs and Harmony, and I was like, who are these guys? And Eazy was like with them in the picture, and I just kept waiting. I was like, all right, well, I don't know anything about this, and I had the box on one day, the channel, the box, and the first few seconds of Thuggish Ruggish Bone came on, and immediately within the first 5 seconds, something in my mind said, this must be the group that Eazy-E had planned for everybody. Because for whatever, it came to me like a, it wasn't a voice, but it was just like this understanding. I was like, this has to be Eazy-E's, those guys that I saw in that photograph. And then I saw Eazy on that chair in the video, and I was like, oh my God, this is it. Soon as the song ended, I found a rock, because I wasn't old enough to drive. It was 90, or maybe I was old enough to drive, but I didn't have a car. So I think I got Rob G yeah, I think I had Rob G take me to, I think it was called Camelot at the time. And no, it was FYE, and I bought Creeping on a Come Up. I bought it the same day. I saw the music video. As soon as it ended, I left the house to find a ride to get to the mall so I could buy Creeping on a Come Up. And I had that. And I mean, my it's not been the same ever since then. And I used to play that a lot with Outkast, Southern Playalistic, Cadillac Music. And it's funny because Outkast has never been like listed as fast rappers, but they kind of rapped a little bit fast back then. But yeah, Creeping on a Come Up. And then the second album I got was Faces of Death because I was trying to buy Eternal, and they pushed back Eternal. and Faces of Death was like re-released, and I ended up getting Faces of Death, expecting Eternal, and I made a whole video about that on the Beyond the Harmony playlist. But yeah, so Creeping on a Couple was my first one. Now I got a question for you though. Have you have you seen The Babysitter since? Because does she know she created a monster by pushing Bone on you at such an early age?
Nah, I don't even fucking. I wish I remembered her name or something. So I, because she, it's so funny. I wonder if she's even a fucking Bone fan because she was such a fan at that moment. Like I said, she pushed first of the month before the Crossroads on me. And
Wow,
and you don't realize it. You don't realize it while it's happening because, right, what the fuck is Bone? So I didn't realize what she was doing. And then when she brought me Creeping on a Come Up, I'm so young. I don't know that this is their first album or anything like that. So the fact that she had a copy, and then she went away, and then she came back, and it was just like the Crossroads and that Trey intro. We talked on the Mo Thugs episode, by the way, and I meant to save this for the Mo Thugs follow up, but I think I'll forget. So we were talking about what led them to put that push behind Trey, and do you realize it had to have been Trey doing the intro to the Crossroads video because so many, I mean, that is iconic and it's not part of the song. And dude, that church scene with Trey singing, you ask anybody that, from that time frame, that is the shit, boy. They love that shit right there.
Yeah, that's another. I never connected that dot until now. That is a good point. And now it all makes sense.
Yeah,
now it all makes sense. That makes sense.
That had to have been why we put the money behind Trey because, fuck, man, you must have thought they were going to be superstars. That church scene, like I think people were sad when that wasn't in the album version.
Yeah. Well, the original, the version that we know as The Crossroads wasn't even on the original album.
Yeah, that's crazy too.
It was okay though because like during that time period, you had Eternal, and then they were putting out these singles on all those soundtracks, and then The Crossroads just comes out of nowhere. And I just remember too, to your Babysitter's point, prior to it was almost like history rewrote itself after the Crossroads came out because as the Crossroads dropped, in my mind I'm still like, well, I still like First of the Month better, or maybe even Thuggish Ruggish Bone or For the Love of Money, or even other tracks, No Surrender and whatnot. But then the Crossroads came out and it was like we were told that this is now the greatest Bone song, and I know the average public, believed that. But I still feel like deep down the Bone fans are like, I don't know, man. Crossroads, great song, but it's, I still like some of these other ones better than like the Crossroads was never my absolute favorite Bone song of all time. There was plenty of others. And did you feel that way, or were you like bananas for the Crossroads and just couldn't get enough of it?
I think because the initial push from the Babysitter, I think I was fucking bananas for it because I just didn't, the only shit that she didn't even push because, East 1999 came out in between and she probably never even saw that dark ass shit. So it's like First of the Month was pushed on me and then the Crossroads was pushed on me. So I think I was a big fan until I got fucking Creepin', followed by Eternal, and I found out the Thuggish Ruggish, part, and then I think I think I got away from any of the Harmony shit for a while. Like I think for a little bit, like I didn't give a fuck about the Harmony shit. I remember when the Art of War dropped, just the first bunch of songs out the gate, I was just like, fuck yeah. I always push the intros. I love the intros because they're just the intros to the first 3 albums, and specifically even the intros on the Art of War create so much excitement, and they were so dark and not the Crossroads. And I don't know how you feel now. I have no problem admitting this. I don't give a fuck how much shit I take for this. I cannot even fucking stand listening to the Crossroads. I can't do it. It's been pushed on me so hard that I skip it. If I listen to Eternal, I skip the Crossroads at this point. Like it's probably like for the most famous Bone song, it's got to be one of my least listened to. Just at at this point, like I said, I mean I was a super fan of it in that time period.
It bothered, I think, subconsciously or even actually consciously. My issue with the Crossroads was that it pushed away Crossroad, the original version on Eternal, and that was probably like one of my top 3 favorite songs. Like I remember taking a shower, I'd program my CD player to play Crossroad, Land of the Heartless, and Mo Murda. And
is that how you originally heard Eternal? Was the original copy you had, did it feature just Crossroads on it?
Yeah. The Crossroads didn't even exist. I had Eternal for what seemed like a year. Like I had already worn the album out. So I welcomed that a new song came out. But when they removed the original Crossroad from Eternal, I remember thinking, great, because I wanted to buy this album over and over again throughout my life. I was like, great, now I'm going to have to go fishing to find the versions that had the original Crossroad. And so like I always was kind of mad at the Crossroads. I was mad at, well, really what it was when they started reprinting the album, they would only put the Crossroads on it and they wouldn't put Crossroads. So it replaced Crossroad with the Crossroads. And I'm thinking, man, that's one of my favorite songs on the album. And now it's gone because of this mega hit. So like I always had like a grudge against the Crossroads. But at the same time, I was thrilled that it made Bone mega famous. I mean, they were kind of famous with Thuggish Ruggish Bone, For the Love of Money. East 1999 really wasn't famous, the song. And obviously First of the Month was a fairly significant hit, but the Crossroads brought them to like this status that I had never imagined Bone to ever get to. And they got to do the Grammys on those horses and whatnot. But losing, living on the original Crossroad and losing it, and that was like one of my favorite songs of all time at that period of time. So imagine losing one of your favorite songs of all time with this other version, and it's a completely different feel. Like the original Crossroads, kind of gloomy and dark. The Crossroads, even though it's a dark subject matter, it has like this happy feel to it. So it's so wild because
the way you describe it versus, again, I got Eternal, and by the time she gave me Eternal, because I think what she did was she gave me gave me Creeping On a Come Up, and then she rode the wheels off Eternal, and then when she was like done with it, it was like, yeah, you can have this. She had the version with The Crossroads, the Mo Thugs remix, DJ Unique's Mo Thug remix. So I didn't hear Crossroads, I don't think, until much later. I do know that they eventually started to print a version that had both on it. I think Crossroads was still in its number 8 spot, and then The Crossroads was then featured as like track 18. But that was a later thing. So you are right, they phased it out and switched it. But I wouldn't have done that. I would have done the double version. Everybody likes, a remix. What a significant change, though. If you're DJ Unique, like, how were you listening to Crossroad and you were like, what I think is hidden inside of this? Like, just a completely different... It's a completely different song. It defines what it is to be a fucking remix.
It's hilarious looking back. Like, I'm reminiscing right now of the time period. If only I knew. That was the birth of the collecting. Because I remember where I was. I was in Circuit City when Circuit City was still a franchise. And I remember seeing I think that version that you said did exist, where it had Crossroad and The Crossroads. And I saw it on the shelf and I thought, man, I was like, man, how many times am I going to have to buy Eternal? And I was gonna buy it. I didn't buy it because I would have held on to that one forever, especially after all the different versioning came out. But that's where the collecting began. And not only that, at that time period, there was all those singles. Like I had For the Love of Money single. I never had the Thuggish Ruggish Bone single, only because it was never available at any of the record stores in my neighborhood. But For the Love of Money was, The Crossroads was. There was a Ray J single with, there was a Bone, I think it was Days of Our Lives was on the back of that one. And I think if Bone was on the front cover, I would have bought it. But it was Ray J, and I didn't want to have a picture of Ray J in my house all the time. So
It's a weird, yeah, that's a weird single. I own it. Bone is on it, but they're like in a small circle, like in the bottom corner or some shit. So it's like a big Ray J single, and it says like Ray J and all his shit, and then there's like a small circle with Bone on it, and it's like also featuring Days of Our Lives.
yeah, and I mean, it sounds like kind of weird to say now, but like at the time period, R&B wasn't like R. Kelly hadn't made things cool yet, right? So if you had R&B in your collection, it was kind of like, yo, what's wrong with you, man? And because even rappers were kind of mad with R. Bone is kind of the group that bridged the two together. I mean, Heavy D kind of tried to do the thing, but he never had that same kind of success Bone had of blending R&B and rap. So I couldn't have my friends see me with a Ray J album cover in my collection. Now it wouldn't bother me, but back then it was straight hip hop, nothing else. And
Yeah.
whatever.
That single's always been weird to me. As a collector, I own a couple versions, and like, I hated the thing that you hate about it, for starters. I understand the split because I think they were on the same label, or outside of Ruthless, like I think the distributor was the same, or maybe they were both songs on the. Were they both songs on the soundtrack? That must be what it is. They were both songs on that soundtrack.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
Set It
even
Off.
the CD itself came in one of those like weird cardboard slide out fucking, like the disc slides out in this shitty plastic tray, and it's just like this cardboard sleeve, like it's a fucking piece of shit.
And thinking of subconscious things, while I did enjoy the intros, I know you were a fanatic for the intros. I did like the intros, but what I didn't like was, like, I wanted the introduction on Eternal was probably my fourth favorite, right? And I always had to fast forward through the intro to get, because like I liked the intro, but there was some times where I just wanted to hear Execution Double Nine style without all the deep stuff leading up to it. So I'd have to like memorize, I think it was like 41 seconds or something where it began. So I'd try to fast forward right to the point where it begins, where you hear like the thunder, eternal. And and because I just wanted to have that vibe going in without the but sometimes I wanted the whole experience, but other times I just wanted just the song, and I wish you could just forward to it.
Jesus, I love all that extra shit. All that extra shit, like when they stopped using that shit, bro, I was so fucking pissed off. Like, because, Creeping on a Come Up starts with it. Eternal starts with it. The Art of War has 2 intros, and then all of a sudden it was like, we don't need the essence of Eazy-E any fucking more. And I was like, fuck that. You give me Eazy-E talking to me through the fucking Ouija board in reverse, you motherfuckers. Don't give me this shit. So I was always upset.
Did Resurrection begin with Righteous Ones? Like, for some reason, I feel like that was the first song on the album. Was that Righteous Ones how Resurrection began?
The Resurrection album, if I remember correctly, the Resurrection album starts with Show 'Em, which kind of has its own. I think that's the one that has its own little intro. It's like Bizzy, oh Bone Thug, you Bone Thug broke up and all that shit. I'm pretty sure that that's how that shit starts.
Yeah, but I don't think it had the easy type intro on Resurrection.
No,
right?
fuck no. It's like Bizzy, just kind of like, I literally think it starts, if I remember correctly, with Bizzy going, oh Bone Thug, like, I heard they broke up or some shit. Which
Righteous Ones is the second track. Okay, yeah.
I understand it for Bone, right? Like, how long can you do that? And so, like, in retrospect, like, not at the time. At the time, I'm fucking pissed off that Resurrection doesn't have it, okay? But it's the year 2000. They've done it a lot. It makes sense, okay? And I wasn't mad. I wasn't mad when Thug World Order didn't have it. I wasn't mad when the fucking Thug Stories didn't have it. I really wasn't mad when Strength and Loyalty didn't have it. It made sense. The only time that I've been mad, besides it not being on Resurrection initially, there was absolutely no fucking reason, uncalled for, that on Unified, the World's Enemy, we didn't get our Eazy-E Ouija voice. It's uncalled for.
And we got like that computer voice guy instead.
I hate it. I absolutely hate it. You know, I love a lot of Bone stuff. I tell you what I love. I tell you what I hate. I hate that I don't have my Eazy-E Ouija voice, and every time we do get it, I'm excited. I think it's just classic Bone stuff. It's like the artwork we talked about all night. You know, when we got away from Art of War, we also got away from, you know, past the intros and like how much I like them. They set that tone and that mood. Like they set you. It's like the opening credits building up for the first scene. Like it set that tone for the rest of the fucking record.
Yeah,
So
yeah, and the World's Enemy made me feel like I was getting a corporate cookie cutter, like the corporate version of Bone with
yeah,
that, because it just came out of nowhere, kind of thing.
we won't jump into it because we're about to wrap up. So we won't jump into much unified talk. But I will just say the disc that we got versus the disc that we thought we were getting based on the think tanks. And it's so funny because me and John actually did a whole episode about Unified before we were ever beyond the Harmony. We did a whole episode on this back in like 2010, you guys. And we just tried to recover it actually, and we couldn't recover it from the database. But we did an episode on this in 2010, just talking about, you know, what we thought Unified would be versus what it was. But we'll save that for a different episode.
And maybe we'll find out why so many tracks got cut. And, you know, I almost wonder, like, I wish if I could get a time machine, I'd try to find a way to get in touch with Bone and say, hey, you know what? Make The World's Enemy a double CD, even if there's filler tracks, but combine the best of the Unified prequel, all those cuts, all those. I think there was like 50 songs made for that period of time, like over 50. If they would have came out with a double CD, even if people would have said, you know, less is more, I think more over the period of time, I think more still would have been more, especially since it had been a while, like 3 years since Strength and Loyalty, Flesh just got out. People wanted, and the amount of like build up towards it was huge. If they would have dropped the double CD, even if it felt like it was too many songs or some songs shouldn't have made the cut, we would have got our fill. Everybody would have been happy with The World's Enemy because at least the tracks you wanted would have been on it. And I think the world ain't ready, the game ain't ready. That song needed to be on that album, and I think because it wasn't, and that was what they used to push it in the commercials and the promos. And when I didn't get that song, I'm like, yo, man, I need the game ain't ready. What? So that to me, I think that was the fail. If just that song was on the album, I think people would have felt better about it. I mean, in the end, it's a pretty good album. It's just at the time the expectations were ridiculous, and it just, you know, and with all those songs missing that we had heard, but we could talk about that some other time.
I think, yeah, and you know, I think you're right. There's a lot of love for, like, if you look at like the Unified, the prequel, the Untold Story that. We talked about this a little bit in the Book of Thugs interview, but that's the one with the foil, and there's a bunch of just tracks that don't even make sense on it at the end, like, you know, Thug Always and the Mariah Carey song, but the first half of that disc is all Unified cuts. Yeah. Toast to That, I Ain't Going Nowhere, which Kanye produced, Enough Respect, which I know you're not a big fan, but that's like one of my favorite fucking Bone songs ever. That little disc got a lot of love. The Originators was on it. The DJ Khaled song. What a good fucking song that is. So, yeah. We'll do that. We'll do that in another episode for you guys. That's something that we've wanted to do too. Was even though they've been out for a while, I think me and Johnny are just gonna review a couple discs for you guys.
Yeah, and by the way, when I first heard Art of War, the Handle the Vibe and the way that song began, I almost had a heart attack. I mean, when Bizzy came in, it was, and then Crazy Bone, I beg your pardon, but how do you know me? Man, I like my heart, like I lost breath. I'm pretty sure I fell off my bed. I don't know. That moment, I remember exactly where I was. I just couldn't believe that was the first song, and I had 2 discs worth of material to experience afterwards, and I just couldn't imagine like what else I was going to hear after hearing Handle the Vibe. I could not handle the vibe. The vibe took me over. The vibe was too much. I was cracking up but not laughing.
Yes. No, listen, I it's so funny you bring this because I it's not even just that I experienced that like then, okay? I fucking experienced that moment anytime I'm like, oh, you've never heard Bone Thugs? Check this out. And I play the Retaliation intro, and it's just the most violent war
Yeah.
fucking, yeah, we came to shut this motherfucker down. And then all of a
Realize.
sudden, they just like drop into that singing, boy, we up the. And I'm just like, every time I look at motherfuckers, because they start doing that, buck, 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 buck,
Yeah.
bitches. And right before they start singing, I'm like, time to sing for no reason. And every person looks at me like I'm crazy. And they start singing. And DJ Unique did such a great job because all the tracks, pre-mixtape, all the tracks flow together so nicely. And this is before DJs were doing this with the mixtape. They flow together and you just have that sound of the wind and shit. And it brings you right into Handle the Vibe. And when that first beat drops, it'll probably never be like the first time, but I, you know, my girl isn't into Bone like this, and I just made her go through the Art of War CD, and I was so excited for her to be hearing this shit, and of course I'm giving her commentary the whole time, and you know, that Handle the Vibe beat drops, and it's just like, you go insane, bro, you go in fucking insane, like to start the album with that. I remember as you hear it, you're just like, if this is the first song and it's 2 fucking discs, this is 2 discs and this is the first fucking song.
And not only
So,
that, you're looking at the thing. You're like, I know on this second disc there's a track with Tupac, and I can't even
yeah.
imagine what that's gonna be, right? And then that
Yes.
comes on, and then like that beat, it's been imitated so many times now, but that beat for Thug Love was mind blowing. I mean, it was everything at the time.
And I'm going to tell you too, and this is back to where I'm giving the fucking intro some love. Disc 2 starts with that intro that's kind of like computery sounding, and they're just repeating the word like Mo Thug over and over. Mo Thug, Mo Thug, Mo Thug. And it creates such a, like, you're like, oh, what's going on? You know, like, I mean, it's hard. DJ Unique did a great job, and it blends into Thug Love so
Yeah.
good, bro. Like, cause Thug Love's track 2, you know, so it's the first song on that second disc, and that little intro, it builds it, it
Yeah,
makes it,
I,
it sets you up.
yeah, and I used to, and when I used to play Thug Love, I always made sure to start it with the intro. Like I didn't just skip straight to Thug Love. I'd, for the most part, build up to it with that intro because that one
Yeah,
did blend very good. And then,
yeah,
you know, a side thing I'm seeing right now is on this Unified prequel. There's it says that Thug Always was mislabeled and it was We Working. And when I heard
yeah.
that song, that's when, and I know you I guess met Steve Lobel a while back, but that particular song, "We Workin' by Bone," is what put Steve Lobel on my radar for whatever reason, because that was like his slogan, "We Workin'." And when I
Yeah.
heard Bone made that song, "Full Steam, Full Surface, We Workin', We Workin'," I was like, "Oh man, Steve Lobel's got a theme song by Bone," and that's like, and ever since then I've been like a Steve Lobel like fan, you know, watching how he worked, and he built a really cool empire, and then seeing like anytime he works with Bone, it's always a quality product that comes out. So that particular song though is what put Lobel on the map to me. I know you knew of him way back, but I never
Yeah.
even paid attention to these kind of things until that song. And that song, if he meant for that song to be the song that introduced him to people that didn't know, it worked. Because ever since
It's
then, I was able to connect him.
it's funny. Um I met Steve in 2000 and I think 1. Okay? I met Steve in 2001 in California, and I was out there with a rapper named Wong, Wong. And if you guys know, Lazy Bone has a track with Juan G. And so I'm out there with him, and I'm out there with the Outlaws. Okay, so this is 2002, so Tupac's out of the picture, obviously, but I'm out there with Juan G and the Outlaws, and fucking Steve Lobel, man, is with the fucking Outlaws. Like, this guy's everywhere, and just you can tell, man, that the guys, and when I say the guys, I'm talking about Bone, I'm talking about the Outlaws at the time. The fucking rappers that are with him trust this guy. And you'll hear motherfuckers like Bone co-sign Steve, that you can trust him. And it's obvious. He's been with Bone for fucking 20, plus years. You can't trust many people. Steve Lobel is bringing what's best for the artist to the forefront. And I think you got to give the guy a lot of credit when it comes to Bone. I think he's held Bone together for a long time. At the times where it was rocky and it could have fallen apart, I think it was Steve keeping it straight. I also think that it was Steve that made sure that these guys got the best deals and didn't get taken advantage of again the way they did at Ruthless. So shout out Steve Lobel.
And not only that interview that Steve Lobel did with Bizzy Bone on that big gigantic like maroon velvet couch or whatever it was, like that, the way he conducted that interview helped me become a better interviewer, and just the way he crafted his questions and everything. I think that that's one of my top 10 favorite Bone interviews, that one. And then he also did like a promo tour with Crazy Bone leading up to, I think it was Chasing the Devil, and they were telling a lot of their stories of back when they worked on Thug Mentality, 1999. And he asks great questions, and he even kind of like extracts the emotion out of the interviewer. So he just knew things about these guys to bring out, and he even did a cool interview with Unique as well. So not only is Lobel, he does the business part good, he's actually pretty good at interviews as well.
Yeah, he's a smart guy. You gotta be, and he's a loyal guy too. If you guys look at the situation, it's not like Steve is some affiliate that only knows Bone and can only deal with Bone. I mean, this guy just had pictures of him with fucking Puffy. This guy could take a lot of opportunities, but he stays with the Bone camp because he believes in the Bone camp, and he keeps it with them. And loyalty and trust are two hard things to come by, and we working. Shout out to Steve Lobel. I hope we have Steve on here. He seems like a really good dude. I think we will someday. I think he'll be down to do this. So.
And before we wrap this up, I'm seeing here Struggle featuring P.D. Pablo. I remember when that one came out, man. I loved it too, but you loved it, man.
I love that song. I love P.D. Pablo, and I loved... P.D. Pablo possesses something that, he's got his own unique sound, and I think what I liked about it was it's like when we get a Chameleonaire Bone track. They're not the same, but they vibed on such a fucking cool level, you know what I mean, that it was like, oh, this is P.D.'s dropping some fucking harmony with Bone. Like, dude, I loved it, man. I love that song. I still love that song. P.D. fucking Pablo. Love that song. Yeah, I was just thinking too, and I hate to keep bouncing back and forth on people. Our listeners are the best because they let us go back and forth so much. But I was just thinking about the Mo Thug intro again, and I remembered that it wasn't just that computer voice, crazy and lazy like sing. So again, just like the Eternal thing, it was just, or the Art of War intro, it's like, let's have some like violent aggression. And now it's time to sing, motherfucker. Much love, Mo Thug, Mo Thug. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, and they do that, and then they're like, and now back to the fucking scary computer voice before Tupac shoots some shit.
Did Bizzy and Lazy ever release a song? You know that song that they used to sing together, where they said that they'd be huddled around like a burning barrel trying to stay warm. Did that ever come out on an album or an official release, or did they just...
Nah, I don't think it did. And there's video. I think there's video of them all doing that, for like, not just talking about it. I'm pretty sure there's a video out there of them doing that live. Not like live at a show, like live around a fucking barrel in like 94. I don't think so though, and that's if Bone does another album, which who knows. I see a lot of chatter from people on different boards like Bizzy's being distant and shit. I want you guys to know that I don't think, and I don't know shit. I'm not with Bizzy, but based on the people that we know and the situations that John and I have been part of, I don't think that there's a situation where Bizzy's all of a sudden being distant and out of the group again. Okay, I think you guys got to realize that Bone's been a group for 25 years. They've worked hard. They've made a lot of like independent things, and it's impossible for each one of them to maintain these solo careers, and their solo careers now go past music. It's impossible to maintain those solo careers and make every single Bone Thugs and Harmony fucking show and appearance as the five.
Yeah.
That's just going to be hard to pull off. So if you guys aren't seeing Bizzy right now, that doesn't mean he's out of the group. They've done a great job at making a situation where, hey, I don't have to be here and y'all can still hold it down. 3 or more and you got Bone Thugs, baby. 3 or less and you got Bone Thugs.
And releasing an album is when it's a group of people understand Bone as a 5-member group. And if you're a record label that's signing them, you want to have these guys to be able to promote it, all of them. And it's just logistically difficult, I'd imagine, for them to pull off. Only because imagine trying to have 5 superstars that have developed 4 solo careers, which not so much, but everybody else has one. And then try to get them to give up all the commitments that they probably have on their calendars. Everybody books things in advance. So it's probably hard to open up your calendar to do a group
when
thing.
I book shows, because I mentioned earlier, I'll book shows. I'm a talent buyer, and when I book a show, the minimum I usually book that thing out is 2 to 3 months. I've booked a couple with like a month's notice, but I'm usually 2 to 3 months out. So that means at the beginning of the quarter, somebody books Bizzy Bone. A tour may not get pulled up for Bone Thugs and Harmony until halfway through that quarter. Well, he's already got commitments. He's already needs to record 20 features. He already needs to do X amount of... So he's already been locked down and deposited. So, you guys got to remember at the beginning, the entity was Bone Thugs. They didn't have these solo careers. They had to be there as the 5. It's not required now. 3 or more, you got Bone Thugs and Harmony.
Well,
2,
not only that,
they're Bone Thugs.
They're always touring. It's not like
always.
It's not like they're. Sometimes people want Bone to hey, why don't you guys do something? It's like, hey, they're. Oh, it seems like they're on tour. It seems like they do more concerts now than they ever did.
Yeah, I agree. I think when they were really on in like the late 90s, especially like you got a big tour out of the Art of War and shit, but that was it. They had like one big Art of War tour. Like these motherfuckers are especially since Flesh. I would say since Flesh got out, so we're talking 8 years. It's like they have been on a U2 style 8-year long fucking tour.
Yeah. Yeah.
Touring.
And I got to see them. They actually came to Florida to a place I would never have thought. They went to Fort Pierce back in 2014, so I got to go see them perform live in concert. I guess Lazy Bone wasn't there. I don't know if they have like a thing where it's just they sell 4 members, but most of the time it's Bizzy that's not there. But in my case, it wasn't Lazy. I guess wasn't there, although it felt like he was there. But Crazy was there for sure, Wish for sure, Bizzy Bone for sure, and I for some reason I remember Fleshbone being there. I mean, it was at least 4 guys, and obviously, I was checking Bizzy and Crazy and Flesh was there. I'm looking at some footage right now. So Lazy wasn't there when I saw him live in concert.
It's wild because, I mean, I've performed on stage with Bizzy Bone, but as far as seeing Bone, and it just may be the location that I'm in that a lot of hip hop shows don't happen here anyways. A lot of the ones that happen here, I'm helping bring to the state, but I've only got to see Bone one time. And it was during that time frame where Wish and Crazy had stepped out. So this must be around, the Art of War 3 time. And so it's Flesh, it's Lazy and Bizzy. And I think they did the most creative thing that you could do with that lineup, which was, hey, let's run a fucking BTNH Resurrection tour, to celebrate that release, because those three kind of fucking, were the main members on it. And so they did pretty much everything from Resurrection. They did some of the hits too. It's not the same here in the Crossroads, and not having everybody in it, but for the most part, you don't notice. The cool thing that they had a full fucking band. They had a whole band backing them up during this Resurrection tour, so that was really dope to see the three of them. One of the questions that I saw on the thugsandharmony.com board was, what is your favorite trio lineup, whether it's happened or hasn't happened? What is the favorite trio that you have? Because the trio happens a lot. The Bone Thugs trio has happened a lot.
Right. Yeah. I mean,
what do you think yours is?
Mine, I mean, my favorite trio, obviously, I mean, it's unfair, but it would be Crazy, Bizzy, and Lazy. I know they never actually toured together, but like on Land of the Heartless, the introduction, those are two awesome songs. And like when it's the three of them, and even I think More Than Thugs is just the three of them. And when it's just them three, and even Coming Home, the original version with TQ, and I think the Miz did the beat, I'm not sure. But when it's them three, that is my absolute favorite. The songs that the three of them have made together, there's not a single one that isn't absolutely permanently a legendary, epic, perfect song. Like the ones I just named are some of my favorite Bone songs of all time. I love that trio because Lazy performs on a higher level when it's the three of them. He like when I hear him there, I'm like, oh man, Lazy is just as good as Crazy and Bizzy here. So when it's the three of them, it brings out the best in Lazy. They all complement each other perfectly, especially on those choruses. Jackie's, but there's really no place to run. And that's my favorite, Crazy, Lazy, Bizzy. Not because they're my three favorite guys, but because when they work together, there's a real synergy going on there.
I think that would have to be my favorite. I mean, that's what I would want. Not at every point in Flesh's career, but depending on the Flesh Bone style, I could also swap out Lazy for Flesh. But it depends on which Flesh and Bone I'm getting, because he's got such alternating styles.
I think even though it's not my cup of tea to see like the show that you went to, in theory, the Lazy, Flesh, and Bizzy, I think because it had the band and because they rehearsed together, there is a certain charm to that, and I like the idea when they did it, when they tried to do it on their own as those three versus, because it was completely different from the Strength and Loyalty trio, right? And what's interesting is that the bond that held it together was Lazy Bone, because Lazy Bone was in the Strength and Loyalty trio, and he was also in that Resurrection tour era trio as well. And I liked that it was a different look. It's just, overall, like Resurrection, to go watch a concert of Resurrection, we talked about earlier, it wasn't like, I mean, it's a good album, but it's not like one of those ones that means a lot to me. That period was kind of a weird period. It's a good album. I like the beats, but it wasn't enough Crazy for me. I'm being a Crazy fan, I wanted more Crazy Bone, but I did like the look. I liked that they tried it, and I also even like that Crazy and Wish kind of were doing their Australian world tour at the time, so it offered different looks. Even though the fans felt like there was disunity and that was broken up, it was still intriguing chapters of the story. Now that everybody's back together again, everybody's happy, it's cool. But it was nice that period did occur and gave us different looks, different albums, different types of concerts. It may not be what the fans wanted, they all five, but at the same time, like you got to go see that trio of Lazy, Flesh, and Bizzy. What a neat thing that you got to say that you saw that particular aspect of Bone live with a band.
Yeah.
So it was cool that they flipped it up like that for a period of time.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's all part of what makes it unique. And I will also say too that it is disappointing, if you go to see a Bone show and your favorite Bone isn't there. But just like collecting, how special is it for you listeners that can say, I've seen all 5 Bones?
Yeah.
And it's just like anything collectible. It wouldn't be special to say that if every show all 5 had to be there. But because that isn't the requirement, because Bone Thugs means, Bone Thugs and Harmony means 3 or more. It's super special for you guys to say, hey, I've seen all fucking 5 together, So.
And let me just throw in a thing where I had a conversation with an international fan. I forgot what country he was from, but it wasn't like a major country, right? It wasn't like England or France, or he was from he was from a country that you wouldn't imagine Bone to do a lot of concerts there. And he really wanted to see Bizzy Bone bad, and I think Bizzy wasn't going to be part of the show at his particular country. And he pointed out to me, he's like, look, you live in the United States. You could probably go to another state and see a show that Bizzy Bone's in. He's like, Bone's only going to come to my country once. There's no way I could afford to travel to another country to see them. This is like my one and only shot at seeing Bone. And all I want to see is Bizzy, and he's not going to be here. And I felt bad for him. Like, I realized the impact of it, because when you see the stuff online, you forget that a lot of the forums and a lot of the Bone chatters, not just Americans or people from the United States, it's people from all over the world. Bone is a world force. And these instances where it's some random, not such a big country that you would know about, that's like the only time Bone's ever going to be there. That's that guy's only shot at seeing him. And you realize why people want the whole group together. It's for these kind of circumstances. And it's easy for us to say like, hey, whatever, but for them, you realize like it's their one shot, and it's probably the biggest thing that's happened in their life, the opportunity to go see Bone. And one of whatever member it is that they want to see is not there. It's kind of disappointing, but it's kind of hard to fly 5 people.
Hopefully Bone made it back there. I hope the guy got a chance to see Bizzy. If not, Bizzy's toured like crazy. So I can only hope that maybe Bizzy did a solo return there and fucking gave the fans something. Bizzy is, he was captivating as fuck. This is before I even met him when I saw that show with just the 3 of them. And the band was awesome. Lazy and Flesh were awesome. Flesh was, I think, pretty fresh out of jail at that point. But Bizzy Bone was sucking down Red Bulls and destroying every song like it was 90 fucking 4, and his contract was on the line, and it was all about this performance or die. And this isn't a big fucking place for hip hop. It was probably half sold out. You know what I mean? And this guy gave everything, and then some more. He fucking gave you everything. So I can see why people are disappointed when they don't get him. But no matter what you got.
I'll say this tidbit too, is this is a part that I don't see mentioned a lot by Bone fans, but the impact that Wishbone has on the live show, people underestimate. So Wish has a way. When Wish talks on the mic, people just shut up and they listen. Wishbone can command the crowd, whereas the other guys, they're gonna say things in between, but it's not this. When Wishbone tells you get up, put your hands up, you do it. You do whatever Wishbone tells you to do. Versus like if Lazy's saying it feels like optional, but Wish has a stage presence, and I feel like that's his major contribution. It goes under the radar, but it's his live performance of being the enforcer on stage, and Fleshbone's an enforcer too. Yeah, Flesh has an excellent stage presence, but Wish is like the MC. He's the guy that holds the glue together of making, keeping the continuity of the show going. No one's gonna rush Wishbone on stage, so he's additional free security, and he just has a way to keep the momentum going of a live show. So once I saw Bone live, I began to appreciate Wishbone a lot more, because I saw what he brings in those intangibles that, and if you've done live shows and it's something to move the crowd or to be able to control the crowd or to suggest to the crowd or to keep their attention. Wish had that capability. People respond to him.
It's a totally different skill set to be able to get up there and rock the mic and rap your shit and do it well versus the interaction with fans in between songs is a totally different skill set. To be able to talk to them and be captivating outside of your music, and not only that, but only about half the crowd is down to say whatever. Put your hands up, they put their hands up. Clap, they clap. It's only about half. The other half is too fucking cool to do that shit. So if you have the ability to take those motherfuckers that wouldn't normally clap and get them to clap, you know, that's a talent. And just because you're Crazy Bone and you say it doesn't mean it's going to happen. So for somebody like Wish to be able to go clap, motherfuckers, and get them to clap, you know, it's crazy. And like I said, it's a totally different talent. It really is. It's a different talent. Did you ever see the video? And it's years back now, 4 or 5 years. Did you ever see the videos of it was a Wishbone solo show?
What, Wish did a solo show? I've never seen that. Oh my goodness, really?
He did a solo show in somewhere weird, Minneapolis,
wow.
Something like that. And I always wondered. I'm like, you know, what did he do? Did he do a bunch of? Because you know, there's a couple Wish. I guess you wouldn't call him solos. Like, we got the Art of War solo, and then we got him on some old features. But besides that, did we just get a bunch of, one verse? Like, he couldn't have done, the Crossroads, right?
Right. Well, I mean, he could have played it, but, and that's the other thing, too, is Wish actually has a lot of memorable verses that people don't really... He's overshadowed by the other guys, but... when you think about all of his verses and you hear him, you're like, wow, I know every word of Wish's verses. And Wish has a way of connecting to the women all know Wish's verses. They probably like him the best. It's a remarkable dynamic that all the characters of Bone have. Wish is obviously the unsung hero, the intangibles that he brings. His verses, he's got legendary ones. He just doesn't get the props that he deserves. But yeah, no, I can't imagine what a Wish solo concert would be like. Just because, I don't know, like Wish is like Crazy Bone's Han Solo, and Wish is Chewbacca. Like you as much as everybody likes Chewbacca, you don't want to see Chewbacca without Han Solo, right? And
yeah, you know, Crazy did a lot. I mean, they did a lot of duo Wishbone, Crazy Bone shows, which I think they could totally do. Like, the two of them together can do a lot of it. But I mean, I'm thinking about Wish, and I'm like, all right, he must have done Get Your Thug On. I assume he did Somebody's Gonna Die Tonight, and and then a bunch of fucking solo verses. I just sent you I just inboxed you a bunch of the links. So when we get off the podcast, you'll have to check it out. I'll try to link some of these links in the description as well, in case you guys haven't seen this Wishbone solo show. Like I said, it's from years ago, and I gotta give props to the promoter that was sitting around going, fuck, I bet Crazy and Bizzy and all these guys are expensive as fuck. I wonder what I can get Wishbone to come do a show for. You know what I mean? Because he probably didn't have a solo price set, you know, because he didn't do solo shows.
But you know, if they planned it out with the light team, the team that does the mix board and the lighting, man, the moment if they brought the lights down and everything got real quiet, gotta get him, nowhere to run, can't run away from my shotgun, leave it about you, doing the murder verse, people would have pulled their hair out. That would have been so cool if it was done right with the right lighting, the right mood. Wish could pull off a couple of those verses. And
I'd like to see more Wish stuff. Even though I don't think it's ever happening, I would still take a Wish solo. Just so it's out there.
Oh yeah, I'd definitely buy. I'd buy it even if I never listened to it. I would buy it just because I'd have to, and I think everybody would buy the Wish album, even if they. I mean, maybe it'd be a spectacular album. And I tell you what, man, Get Your Thug On. I used to bump that all the time. People were like, "What are you doing, bro?" I'm like, "Yo, you don't know, man. He's got a soul, man. He knows it." So, you know,
and he's memorable. You know. You said it. He's got some memorable moments in other songs. I loved Somebody's Gonna Die Tonight too. I don't even remember what group that featured him on that song, but I was like, again, that's dope that they were like, yo, let's get Wish. instead of the other, and that sounds like fucking 10 plus years old. So it was dope that they were like, we want Wish.
And at the very beginning, I wish, when all we had was Thuggish Ruggish Bone to go on, I used to love Wish's verse. And at the time, Bokeem Woodbine was a famous actor, and he was doing like a lot of hip hop movies. He did Strapped with Fredro from Onyx, and I was like, man, is that Bokeem Woodbine with hair? Because at the time they kind of looked similar. Bokeem Woodbine, if you guys don't know, he was in the Tupac video for "I Ain't Mad at Ya." So at the beginning, like when Tupac gets shot. Now Wish doesn't look like Bokeem Woodbine now, but if you look at that video and think that Bokeem Woodbine is in the culture at the time, and I was like, man, did Bokeem get in a group? And but it wasn't him. But that made me like Wishbone a lot because Bokeem Woodbine at the time was like one of my top 5 favorite actors. Like if he was in a movie, I'd see it. Like they remade Total Recall. I was so happy Bokeem Woodbine was in it. And but obviously Wish is Wish and Bokeem is Bokeem. But not knowing who you're looking at the beginning, that made me like Wishbone because he reminded me of Bokeem Woodbine at that time period. Not anymore. But yeah.
Yeah. Guys, it's been a big episode. This will probably be in 2 pieces. Huge episode. Me and John talked on a lot. We had a great interview with with Aaron Purnell. I think we've hit it all. I think we had a great episode.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah.
And who do we got? Come on, we won't know the order that they're coming out with, but for anybody hearing this.
I will say, just so it's out there, I talked about it earlier. Capone, he's featured on Mo Thugs 3. We do an interview with him tomorrow. My guess is these 2 interviews will start to hit close about the same time. And then next week, we're going to interview K-Chill, who was instrumental in making the fucking Bone Enterprise Faces of Death album happen. Without K-Chill, we may not have a Bone Thugs and Harmony. So that is going to be a huge interview as well.
I think that one changes everything.
That one's a big one, guys. So that's what you got to look forward to. We still got the Capone interview. We got K-Chill, and I have some amazing guest lineup that I just don't want to tell you about now. But we'll tell you about them soon. That was your Beyond the Harmony for tonight, your Thug Thursday, your Sinclair Sunday. I still don't know when we're going to drop this. I bet it's a Sinclair Sunday, motherfucker. But that was your episode.
It's going to be both because we're going to have multiple days. There's no way we're dropping a 2.5 hour episode, right? So it's going to be split up between the Thug Thursday and a Sinclair Sunday.
So I'll be right. Big shout out again, bookofthugs.com. loyalbonefans.com, our favorite message board out there showing us the most love, thugsandharmony.com, and of course my fucking boy Bone Thugs NL. What a good dude. You were talking about our fans that live in another country. Bone Thugs NL lives in another country and puts on fucking big time for Bone. So those are the shout outs by all the teams that are supporting us. If you do want to be involved with upcoming interviews, remember to jump on thugsandharmony.com, join that message board, and get involved with us. And again, be on the lookout. We got these big giveaways coming. We're starting up this giveaway for the Ghetto Cowboy single. I just got more stuff in the mail that I'm ready to give to you guys. So that's it. I'm Cecil West. This is my partner in crime, J-Lad, Jonathan Lippy. This is Beyond the Harmony, beyondtheharmony.com. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure that you comment, and we will see you on the next one.